Hope you're doing better than me today. Today was kind of a rough one. Physically, I kind of have to give myself a 7, not because I felt like a 7, but today I went pretty heavy, and I haven't done this kind of volume with this kind of weight in a while, and I hit everything. Like, it all felt really good. My form was good. Like, I literally can't be mad about it. So, I would put it at a 6. But I'll get into why, but I feel obligated to make it a 7 because, everything went really well for the most part. Mentally, it's a 5er kind of day. It's like that bare minimum, I made it through, I'm dead, get me in bed kind of day. And I hate these kinds of days because I don't like giving the bare minimum. I put in maximum effort that I had today, but my maximum effort today was it felt like minimum effort. So what ended up happening, or I guess the topic I can get into is how to figure out if you injured yourself mid-session. A lot of times I feel like people will pull something or feel a minor tweak and try to work through it, and it just ends up leading to a more major injury that takes days or weeks or months to overcome, instead of just a simple night's rest like it should be. And to be fair, there are occasional pulls and just really minor stuff that you can work out through, and just make sure you just don't overdo it, or you got to know what an injury really feels like an actual injury, in order to get that kind of spidey sense about it. I feel so I'll just get into whatever happened to me. What ended up happening was I have been mixing water with my liquid chalk, because the first time I did it, it was like a life hack where I didn't have to buy chalk again, and that was cool because I just don't feel like going to the store. And it was working fine, but then the second time I put water in it, it diluted the chalk too much in order for it to have actual good effectiveness, and basically made my hand the same kind of wetness that I would be if I were sweaty. This is really bad for me because I have to chalk my thumbs specifically first, and then wrap it with thumb tape so that the thumb tape doesn't move around while I'm hook gripping, and also, more importantly, doesn't rip while I'm lifting overhead, because that gets really dangerous. If you lose your grip overhead, you can just drop it on your head. That's horrible to think about. And so what ended up happening was that I my first rep of my first working set went I was super prime, felt fine, everything was good. And I didn't realize it, but the moment I did that first one, every time you do reps in succession with thumb tape and doing hook grip in Olympic lifts, your hand immediately starts trying to sweat a little bit more. That's why I put on a shit ton of chalk, because you don't want that rolling around in your hand freely. You need full control. And so because the chalk was already making my hand a little bit more wet than normal, the moment I started sweating, it got really sweaty, and the thumb tape immediately started shifting. I didn't realize until I got into position, and the moment I pulled up, I felt it rip. And when I went into the third pull to throw it over my head, it ripped fully. And so when I got it overhead, it's probably played by now, but the second rep of that first set, I just almost fucking died on because my hands were super slippery, and my thumb tape failed me, unfortunately. Not to try to use an excuse, but I grabbed someone else's liquid chalk right after that was not filled with water, and immediately started killing the reps. The only thing that I messed up was towards on the last set. The only other rep that I messed up was my second rep on the last set. I threw it behind my head, which is that's just a matter of form. If you can throw a weight behind your head, then strength wise you're completely fine. So I came back and immediately hit the second one right after. I couldn't complete the second one again on the first set because I would have to go I'd take off my thumb tape, reapply chalk, and it wasn't worth going away for 3 minutes and coming back and just hitting one extra rep. I want to keep consistent with just hitting doubles today. and not, if you do a bunch of failed attempts, you're just going to tire yourself out for the rest of the workout. And so because of that one experience, I didn't realize it until I got to overhead squat, but this is the first time I've ever had, I can't even call it an injury, it's just a minor fuck up when it comes to my muscles, which is the difference between what I'm saying with injuries versus a little mini fuck up that doesn't really mess you up at all. First of all, whenever something like that happens and you feel like, I instantly get deja vu from any past injuries whenever I feel a sort of tug like that on a certain muscle in my body, whatever feels like got injured. And I have had a history of wrist issues on my left hand, which is the hand that it happened on, because I used to go really heavy every single day, way too much, and I got carpal bossing, which is just where the scaphoid, or it's just one of the ham bones swells up a lot and eventually just starts cutting off your nerve and ligament that connects your hand and wrist together. So I just couldn't do Olympic for a couple months, and this is why I train more volume based now. I'm not trying to go too heavy that much. So with that, you first of all need to take a second and realize that you felt that kind of a feeling. Even if it's deja vu and it might not be that, it's up, there's a potential. And if you feel like you almost got injured but didn't, there's a good chance that you might fuck it up even more if you don't check it properly. So the first thing I always do is I do mobility drills before every workout. So I just ran through my wrist mobility drills after once I got my snatches done, when I started actually feeling that slight bit of pain where I was oh, I don't know if this is legitimate pain or just my muscles are tired kind of pain, or my muscle feels just kind of pulled apart kind of pain. And my mobility drills went great. Nothing felt bad at all. I actually felt at 100% when it came to my mobility. My wrist didn't hurt. Where I hurt my wrist last time specifically also didn't hurt, which is what I was the most afraid of. Whenever you hurt something around an area that's been majorly hurt in the past, I've torn my low back before. If I ever have a low back minor pull, I'll literally take the next day off just in case, because I don't fuck around with that. It's not worth it. Just take the extra day. It's not lazy, it's just safe. So once I realized my mobility was fine and I wasn't limited in my lifting, I started doing my overhead squats, and the warm-ups all went really smoothly, really well. Nothing fell out of hand. I just felt slightly uncomfortable. I feel a lot of it was mostly mental, but still, it was there. And so what I always recommend when you feel like you might have even just minor pulled something, but it causes a little bit of discomfort, you can't lift properly when you feel pain. It's just, your brain will immediately hotwire to get me out of here. I don't want to do this. That's why I failed that one rep at the beginning of my snatches. So I always think it's a great idea, because I don't like using equipment a lot to support my lifting. Not that I think it makes you lift more. I have wrist wraps that don't tighten, and I have the flimsiest knee sleeves you can get, because I just want that little bit of compression in between my joint to make it a little bit more springy. And again, if you want to use a belt when you feel shit like that anyway, go for it. I never use a belt just for the sake of my core. But again, if my core ever gets pulled in a certain way, especially my low back, I'm probably not just going to work out at all, because a belt will just make it numb, and you're a lot more susceptible to injury when you fuck up something in your low back and you try to push it harder. So again, my mobility was great. There was zero pain. I felt fine lifting my warm-up weights, the bar 45s, 185, everything felt really, really good. And so I was okay, well, I'm at least going to try and put the wrist wraps on, even though I typically wouldn't. It's safe, and I don't want to mess up my hand, and it makes me feel a lot more confident and comfortable, and the pain goes away. Or at least I stop mentally thinking about it that much, because when something like that happens and you feel like you might have injured something, overthinking it happens so much, which again, it's not a bad thing. It's okay to overthink it a little bit if you think you might have gotten injured, because you want to be safe. Again, if you need a rest day, take it. I have been injured enough times in a major way to where I can really, really feel it if it's actually a bad injury. And I knew it was something really minor, but I didn't want it to lead to something major. So again, mobility, equipment, and just test the warm-up weights. Don't go like hard right away, just like make sure the bar feels good. Do your warm-ups with the bar, work up really slowly, doing some like your warm-ups on the way up, and just if everything feels good, then attempt it. Don't plan on finishing the workout going hard as shit for like the next hour and a half. I just had it in me today, and it's very lucky. That is not typically the case when something like this happens. So I found out at the end of it, I took a look at my hands, because you can normally compare your hands when you feel like something pulled or like messed up. This is a first for me. I have never pulled a hand muscle before, and I pull. It's like it's on my left hand. If you're looking at your hand from top down, like you're looking at the top of your hand, on the left side, there's a little bump where the muscle, like it's not barely even there anymore. It's like already like calming down, which shows me how minor it was. But there was a little bump where the muscle was like really pulled and was like not flaring up, but it was just pulled to shit. So it was a lot more tense and contracted than normal. So that's what was making me feel weird. And again, typically when you do your mobility, you can feel exactly where in your mobility drills, which muscle in your hand or whatever part of your body feels shit. There's just so many muscles in the hand that it could be like any little fiber. But I guess the main takeaway that I will always recommend anybody do, because it's just this, as fun as it is to lift heavy and train for strength in whatever you're doing, any lift that's like free weight is so dangerous. No matter how many years you train, one fuck up can lead to one of the worst injuries that will debilitate you so bad. Like again, I've had my wrist swell up a little bit, and it knocked me out for 9 weeks. I've torn my low back on both sides, and that took 8 months. So I know what it's like to go around the ringer and have to really wait it out and do the sucky light bullshit work along the way to get back to where you used to be, or at least where you want to get to. So in order to not have to wait that long, atrocious time of doing bullshit light workouts that you don't want to do, that could have been avoided, the moment you feel any pain like that, even if you haven't experienced a lot of pain or like major injuries in whatever sport you're doing, if you feel something weird, like a little tweak that is limiting your form and range of motion and strength in any lifting or any physical activity, just chill out. I've been injured enough to where I feel like I know my limits, and I will always put the weights down if I feel bad, but I felt completely fine after letting it chill out for a couple minutes. And even now, it feels even better now that I've given it a couple hours to really chill out after the workout. Like, I'll probably completely fine by the time I wake up. But it's not worth testing. Just wear some safety equipment, whether it's like an arm sleeve or whatever, my wrist wraps, if you wear gloves, something, I don't know, knee sleeves, belt, anything. Make sure you are safe when it comes to whatever you want to lift. Make sure your mobility is completely fine, and if your mobility is good, there's no pain, and you're using a little bit of equipment, I think it's okay to lift it and just like test out the weights and see if it feels okay. But otherwise, if you are not able to lift the weights that you wanted to, or your range of motion is limited because of this, you're probably a little fucked up. And even if it's a minor tweak now, if you try to work out while you're fucked up like that, it's going to turn into a major injury that will knock you out for months and months and months. And that is the worst feeling, because it just puts you at a bottom of the barrel feeling, like it's a rock bottom, and it takes a good minute to get out of it. And it only really, I feel, gets better once you accept that you just got to accept that whatever you're doing now is the best you can when you're injured. And then when you get back to 100%, that's when you start getting passionate again. Just don't risk it. Enjoy a little easy night for once. I know it seems shitty to skip on gym at any point, but when it comes to your body, it's got to come first. The weights cannot come before your body, because then at that point, you're either going to injure yourself to the point where you can't lift, or you're going to end up like one of the very, very sad stories of a lifter getting killed by the weights. So I don't know if that got a little too serious. I felt like talking about it because it just happened to me. And I'm lucky enough to have gotten through it, and I feel safe. And again, the weights went great, so I can't really be mad. I feel mentally better now that I've talked about it and I've gotten some time to chill out. But just while I was in the gym, it was rough. I was freaking out a bit, and it was one of those rare days where there were just no homies. So just be safe. That's it, Goodbye.